Hi, and welcome to another installment of What Makes Me Mad. Today on What Makes Me Mad, we're going to take a look at everybody's favorite punching bag, FoxNews.com, and yesterday's issue of The O'Reilly Factor, titled Newt Gingrich on Immigration Bill. Guest host, Michelle Malkin. Everybody knows Michelle Malkin. She's the attractive Filipina conservative talking head bigot and the brawn behind MichelleMalkin.com and HotAir.com. Bigots come in all colors, and smart bigots like Michelle are really good at rationalizing their bigotry. Today on her blog, as a matter of fact, if we take a look at that real quick, today on her blog she discusses a recent Pew poll which revealed a small percentage of American Muslims, somewhere between 11 and 30%, claim to either have a sympathetic opinion of Al-Qaeda, which is obviously disturbing, or no opinion at all. But what this doesn't tell you, and what Michelle doesn't go into at all, she of course comments on how hair-raising that is, and it's just shocking that you can tell the tone of voice that she's writing here. It's unbelievable that there are these evil, horrible Muslim Americans who could in any way sympathize or even understand what a group like Al-Qaeda could be doing. But see, for conservatives like Michelle, who don't accept that the U.S. or the West has absolutely any responsibility for anything that's happening in the Middle East. No responsibility whatsoever, that it is purely the fault of crazy psychopathic Islamist extremists, that American and foreign policy in the Middle East has absolutely nothing to do with it, in no way influences it. For those conservatives, that they have this outrage, this sense of outrage. How could anybody even give a second, justifying the behavior of these crazy psychopaths? It is a short-sighted, bigoted point of view, and smart bigots like Michelle use that to justify their bigotry. Anyway, back to my favorite friend, Newt Gingrich. Paramount, a symbol of conservatism and social justice and all those good things, and just a genuine good man, and the social right just loves him to death and just wanted to run for president because he's such a great guy and he could bring along all his ex-wives could come to and just be one big happy family. Okay, so Michelle interviews Newt Gingrich. Her first question is, why does the GOP have such a death wish? This is about the immigration bill that does, have a something that resembles amnesty. You can call it amnesty. It's amnesty. It has amnesty for 12 million illegal immigrants. I'm not going to pass judgment on that either way. Frankly, I don't know what we're going to do with 12 million illegal immigrants other than to grant them amnesty, because we just don't have the resources to kick them out. And Mexico wouldn't take them back anyway, so what are we going to do? Anyway, Gingrich thinks it's just a horrible tragedy. It's the worst bill known to man. It's just absolutely horrible, and of course, he is a bigot. He says he has no idea. He calls it the most self-destructive bill for Republicans to be sponsoring that he's ever seen, maybe in his lifetime. Newt's not a young man. That's a long time. So he says it's the most self-destructive bill for Republicans in his entire lifetime. He can't imagine how bad it is. This is what really ticked me off here, other than Michelle Malkin even existing. But Newt says it's particularly horrible on the Republican side, where there's some semblance of a belief of the rule of law and some semblance of belief in the sense of fairness. Yes, because the Republican Party, at least right now, is famous for that sense of fairness that we see all around us with the distribution of wealth. So clearly right there, sense of fairness, rule of law, and there's no corruption on the right. That's for sure. So Newt has a lot of credibility when it comes to talking about the belief in the rule of law and some semblance of a sense of fairness. He calls it a recklessly destructive bill, and it very well may be. But he goes on to say that it was written by a group of people who live in a fantasy land, who have no idea how the U.S. government operates. Well, you know what? What's really funny, Newt, is right now the U.S. government is operating under Republican rulership and has for since 2001. So you've got Republicans are the people fostering that sense of fantasy that really have no idea what's going on. Now the thing about immigration that really drives me crazy is Republicans and Democrats alike. Well, Democrats, you will hear some of them say that to ultimately fix the problem, what we have to do is we have to go after the employers who are looking for this dirt cheap labor that's driving the cost of labor down. On the Republican side, you've got George Bush who's saying, well, these immigrants, they're doing jobs that, we can't get Americans to do. This is hard work. It's hard work. We can't get Americans to do this work. You want to work in a field for, he doesn't, and then he stops right there. He doesn't get into the reason why Americans won't work in the field, because they won't work in the field for $2 or $3 an hour. That's the problem. Americans would do these terrible, hard jobs, these difficult jobs, if you paid them a decent wage. But nobody's going to work in a field all day in the hot sun for $2 an hour except an illegal immigrant. Employers know this. So ultimately, I think to have any real impact on the immigration issue, you can build all the fences you want. You can put up walls. You can put sentries everywhere. You can have guards. You can militarize the hell out of the border. Ultimately, until you crack down on the corporations and companies that are employing illegal immigrants, you're not going to do a damn bit of good. And I think the right knows it, the left knows it, and many of them talk about it. But ultimately, that's really what this is about. And the right wing really just won't come out and say it. They're too afraid. You've got the people on the right who are the bigots, and that's fueling some of this, the immigration push. And you've got people on the right, the other group of people on the right who really just like the cheap labor, and they'll do anything. I'll put up all the damn fences because that's just more government contracts. That's just more money to the fence builders. That's great. That's great stuff. I'll put up a fence even though I know it's not going to do a damn bit of good to stop immigration. But just don't talk about those companies. Those companies that are hiring them. That's good. We like that.